Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's virtual coffee chat session. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Tressa. She has over 20 years of experience as it relates to retail, how to build sales strategies and community. And she's going to be discussing with us today surrounding storytelling, how to develop educational kits so that your products perform better in retail, and how to translate community building into sales. So she's very, very experienced. We had a great conversation a couple weeks back, so I'm already a huge fan, and I know you all will be a fan as well. Tressa, the floor is yours. We'd love to learn more about your
Oh,
background. Dive right
thank
into
you
it.
so much. Thank you, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you. I am so excited to be here today. When I talked to Ryan a couple of weeks ago, I got really, really pumped up because I am incredibly passionate about retail and I have a lot of years of experience, and I always get really, really excited to share some of my experiences and stories with others who are in the business. And so it's a pleasure to be here. Just to give you guys a little bit of background about where I've been and what I've done. Like Ryan said, I don't want to date myself, but I have 20 plus years in the retail and beauty industries. I was fortunate enough to be able to work for MAC Cosmetics for 22 years, believe it or not. And I started when the brand had 1,200 employees globally, and I am so fortunate and blessed that I got to spend the majority of my career there and helping to really build that brand and helping to bring it to the number one preferred cosmetic brand in the States at the time. And that was a really, really exciting place to be. For half of my career with MAC, I was executive director of retail sales and training. So I oversaw the Northwestern United States as well as the Southwestern United States. I oversaw 15 states, about 700 employees, and about 130 million in revenue. And these were partnered locations like Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's and Saks, as well as freestanding stores, which was, the ultimate expression of the brand. So it was awesome. And after 22 years, it was a really difficult decision, but I decided to leave because I really longed for the time when I worked for a brand that was small, that was just starting. I wanted an opportunity to get in there, roll up my sleeves, and build something from the ground up. And so at that point in time, it was 2017, I made the decision to leave MAC, and I was given an opportunity with a brand called Morphe. And some of you may or may not know Morphe. A lot of you know it as Morphe brushes. I was hired on with Morphe to open up all of their brick and mortar retail. And I was director of retail for North America. And at Morphe in a year and a half, we opened 39 locations from Toronto to the Panhandle, all the way to Hawaii, believe it or not. And boy, when I tell you that I got what I asked for in terms of going back to work and like getting back in the grid again, I did. But it was such a beautiful experience. And in that, I was able to really get close to retail once again, and the artists that worked in the stores and the customers, and really understanding the passion that lives at store level. And I basically helped to build the entire brick and mortar archetype for Morphe. I hired, all the staff members and field teams, and I was integrated into every single part of that business. And it was such an exciting and special time for Morphe. It was kind of like the new MAC Cosmetics was coming to town, and it was a great, great, fun experience. After 2 years at Morphe, I did something that I never thought I would do, but I left beauty and wellness, believe it or not. I said, I think I'm done for a while. I'd been, 25 plus years in the business by then, and even longer if you include my time in high school and college that I worked in cosmetics. And it was just time to do something different. And I was tapped by a cannabis company to be head of retail for a cannabis brand that was East Coast based. So I spent 2 years traveling east, which was a lot, but also being in charge of a new part of retail that I'd never experienced before. And so I was VP of retail, and I oversaw, 60 locations in 5 different states on the East Coast, and a whole lot of revenue. Cannabis is a different game. It's retail, but you play by different rules of engagement. You have a lot of regulatory you have to pay attention to. And it's a really interesting approach to building brand because every state operates very independently by law. And so you have the challenges of creating a well-known brand across state lines when everything is done, very independent from one state to another. So it was an awesome, awesome experience. It really, really stretched me. So not only was I in charge of retail, but I was also in charge of strategic brand development and really kind of defining what the retail experience should look like and how to propel retail forward in a meaningful way for the customers and the product. So that was wonderful and I loved it. And after 2 years of doing that and that immense amount of travel, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to step away from this and I'm going to try my hat at consulting. And so that's where I've been for about the last 2 years now. I started a consulting company called Sage Group Consultants. And it's a special name to me because my daughter's name is Sage. So it just made all the sense in the world, having spent all this time in retail and, wanting to do something different and kind of on my terms. So with that being said, here I am, and I'm super excited to be talking to you guys. I have a little presentation for you that I'd like to share in just a moment. And as Ryan said, we're going to be talking about different aspects of what I like to call a retail playbook and giving you some really easy but solid approaches to driving success at your business and driving success at a low cost, right? Because everyone is very mindful of how much they're spending. And we have to be really, as new founders, you have to be really, really discretionary with your funds. And so these are some tried and true approaches to 3 very essential parts of any retail playbook. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen. And Ryan, you can tell me if we're good to go. Yes?
I think we're good to go. Appreciate
it. Right on. Let's do this. So, okay, we are going to talk today about education, storytelling, and driving customers. All right. And it's really, really important. These 3 aspects of retail, they really help to define the purpose of your brand. When you think about it, they're so, so important. And when you understand how to properly, successfully educate your staff members, those folks that are going to be selling the product on behalf of your brand, if you can be successful at telling the story of your brand, or if you can be successful by providing multiple touch points and opportunities for customers to purchase your product, this is how you give your brand cultural relevance. This is how you make an impression on a customer. You make yourself available, you have the best people selling your product passionately, but you weave a story that tells your story on all of the reasons why you decided to become a founder and to create the products that you've created, right? And you do all of this and create cultural relevance while addressing the wants and needs of your customers. And that's what should never be lost sight of. All right, so let's dig in. So the first aspect is education. And, having worked for Mac, I am really, really fortunate because I learned very early on the power of educating those folks that are going to be selling your product. Mac out the gate for many years had always been an advocate of lots of education, providing as much information and as frequently as possible to staff members to really empower them with knowledge. And it not only educated staff members on the technicalities of a product, but what it did is it instilled a sense of pride and it created a sense of culture that was undeniable. And for any of you that ever shopped Mac back in the day, you know exactly what I am talking about. It was almost like this club or this community that you wanted to be a part of because the folks that worked there were so completely passionate about the product. They were revered as the best makeup artists in the industry. They had the most knowledge. And also, their passion for their products created this feeling that was infectious. And that's one of the things that I want you to always remember about the benefits of educating is when you empower people with knowledge, it's like you've supercharged them to get out there on behalf of your brand. So that being said, one of the first important aspects of creating a great educational experience is creating a kit that you can take with you when you go on the road, or a kit that you send into store, or whoever's going to be doing the trainings for you. But creating a good educational kit is key. And the first thing that goes in that kit are the products that you're going to be educating on, right? You want to have those products there so that everyone can touch and feel the products and experience them in real life. You also want all of the technical information on your products, right? The key ingredients, what the product does, how it benefits the customer, etc. So having the more technical aspects of the product are going to be really, really important. Everyone is super conscious today about what they put on their faces, on their bodies, and everyone wants to know, what are those key ingredients and how will they benefit me? Be also prepared to discuss how to sell this product and why the customer needs this product. What is the story of it? Be able to link it to other products within your line. That's going to be really, really important, because you want to be able to share selling tactics that ultimately create a halo effect for your entire product lineup. You may be talking about one particular product today, but there's a beautiful way that you can link this product to 3 other products within your line. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. The most tried and true way of being able to do that is a little selling tactic that I call FABC. And it's F for feature, A for advantage, B for benefit, C for custom suggestion, and finally E for E-layer. So let me break this down for you. What this means is, with every product that you're educating on, you want to get those people that are selling for you in the habit of thinking in terms of what is the number one feature of this product. The number one feature is that this is a hydrating cream, okay? What's the advantage of that? The advantage of this hydrating cream is that you get a 12-hour hydration moisture play. What's the benefit of that? The benefit is that you don't have to reapply, and that during the winter, you're extra hydrated when it's extra cold outside, right? And then finally, the custom suggestion. I love this super hydrating moisturizer with this eye cream here. I love these 2 products together, because not only have I moisturized my face, I've also got my eyes covered and taken care of, and I'm good for the next 12 hours, right? And then finally, the E layer on the end. This is where you evoke the emotion in people and you tell them why you love the product. I love this product because before, my skin looked dry, it looked flaky. Now it looks super supple and super smooth, and my makeup wears even better, for example, right? So this is a really, really great selling strategy, and one that you should incorporate into your education tactics, because it really so succinctly helps the folks that are selling your product be able to speak about all of the key features of a particular product. So I always like pulling FABC out of my back pocket. All right, next, provide a hands-on training. Now listen, we don't always have the luxury of a hands-on training, but I'm going to tell you, when you have the opportunity to do that, nothing beats an in-person training. Okay, this is really your personal opportunity for you to get in there and share your personal passion for the products. Tell the story of your brand. Don't underestimate the power of the story of your brand. It's huge. Share your personal experiences, why you made the product. And this really helps to make a connection with the people that will be selling the products for you in store, right? Like, that is huge. Or the ones that are going out and advocating on behalf of your brand, whether they're in-store staff members or someone that's working for you directly, or whether they're even an influencer. If you're engaging and enlisting the help of the influencer community, this is really, really important. So don't ever underestimate the importance of an on-hand training or in-person training. Now, let's be real. We don't always have that luxury. So I think, we do Zoom trainings, and you can still tell your story and you can still evoke a ton of emotion that way. Or you can even do trainings that, are preset and staff members do them online, but somewhere in there, don't forget about how important your story is and why this brand is so special and the love that you have for it, because that's really going to show through. Okay, next, let's talk about choosing the right staff members or ambassadors to train. And, like we said a second ago, we don't always have the opportunity to do in-person trainings like maybe we did before. People also want to consume their information and their training in different manners, right? We all learn in different ways. I think that, now everyone walks around with a computer in their hand, and being able to accommodate staff members and the way that they like to consume information is going to be really important. With that, we don't always get an opportunity to train everyone at the same time. We may only get to train a select group of people from a particular location because of staffing reasons or budgets, things like that. So what I would tell you to do is, not all staff members are created the same, right? You have staff members that are maybe top salespeople or that are ultra passionate about your products. Those are the folks that you want to sit in your training. Those are the folks that you want to hear the story of your products. Like I said, you want folks that have a vested interest in your brand and that have a following that is relevant to your audience, but also have a proven track record. Like I would always say, I want to train the folks that are the #1 salespeople in any particular location because they are passionate about what they do. They're passionate about retail, about the products. And, likely those are going to be the folks that after you train them, go back into store. And guess what? They're in turn going to be training their fellow staff members. So you want someone who is super pumped and super motivated to sit in that training with you. Next, let's talk about telling your story. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but clearly articulating what you stand for, why you sell the products that you do, and who you are really gives your brand purpose and relevance to customers. It makes your brand very, very relatable. One of the things that you always want to remember is that you want the staff and the salespeople to feel like they're a part of your journey. And how else do you do that other than by telling your story and, sharing the passion that you have for the products that you've created? That is the key way. But you want these folks in store to feel so a part of your journey. You want them to feel inspired, and you want them to ultimately own it. You want them to feel like the ambassadors of your brand wherever they are. And that is really the secret sauce to any good relationship with in-store teams. So don't be shy about telling your story. Okay. Next, make it fun. I mean, who doesn't want to have fun in a training, right? If you have them having a good time, their ability to retain information is going to be much, much higher than if they are bored or if they're not stimulated visually or with being able to touch and feel products in person. So keep their attention and don't underestimate the power of that. Make learning fun, use incentives, use gift cards, use products. Another trick that we always did in my cosmetic as well as my cannabis careers was whenever there was a new product launch, maybe they couldn't have the entire collection, but we took at least one of those products and we gave it to them. Putting a product in a staff member's hand is also what helps to create loyalty, right? Giving them a connection to a product when they can touch and feel it, and their ability to experience the product on their own is huge. I'm telling you, and this is the truth, every time we did a product launch where I didn't give a lipstick or an eyeshadow or some aspect of that launch to a staff member, what happened? The launch failed. It was a total putz compared to whenever we put products in their hand, because it gave them a chance to go home and be like, oh my God, I love this. The pigment load is fantastic. The payoff is great. The wearability, let them experience the product and fall in love with it themselves. And then I promise you, they will sell the heck out of whatever it is that you've given them. So that is a really, really huge factor.
Tressa, that's a really good tip. I just want to chime in
Yeah.
quickly because I had one or two questions in the chat. Can you speak to how any of these tips, if any, can be applied to digital environments? We have some folks that are retailing with Macy's or Amazon, and
Yeah.
they're interested to understand and see if any of these can be applied to those environments, if at all.
Absolutely. I think, your brand story is huge. And I think having the right narrative, and we'll talk more about storytelling, but I think that, being able to articulate digitally the story of your brand is going to be pretty tremendous. And I also think that there are aspects of education that are also going to be very, very relevant for customers these days. I think that one of the things that we need to realize is that our customers are a lot more educated than they've ever been before. And the reason for that is because of these little babies right here, right? Most people, most Gen Zs, most millennials, they do their research before they go into a location and shop for a product, or before they actually pull the trigger to buy a product. They have done their homework. They look at ingredients. They're cross-comparing products and price points and things like that. So I don't think that you should be shy about also educating your customers in the same way that you would your staff members and the folks that are selling in store for you. And you can do that in a really beautiful way online as well, too. So you can also it would be cool if you could even create for any new launch, this is an education kit on this particular product, embodying kind of the aspects that we're going through today, but presenting it in a digital form. And I think that you can pull some power that way too, for sure.
Really appreciate that. Thanks, Tressa.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Set clear expectations and provide feedback. If you have any folks working for you, if you are selling your products in a partnered location, if you're out at the farmer's market, wherever you are, and you have enlisted others to sell on behalf of your brand, set clear expectations about what you expect and track your results. Because when you do that, you're able to see success. And I promise you, whoever it is that is working with you as an ambassador for your brand, when you clearly outline the expectations and then you follow up and you understand how people are performing to that expectation, their propensity to do even better is so much higher. When people don't know what's expected of them, when people don't know how they're performing to the expectation, guess what? They don't do as well. They don't do as much, simply because they don't have a guideline as to what's expected or how they should perform. So don't ever underestimate accountability and outlining what you want. And, this is really, really important, particularly if you want any launch to be a success. I'll also say, if you're working with influencers, don't be shy at all. You need to be very directional with these folks about the content that you want them to post, about the frequency of the post, the do's and the don'ts, etc. Really, be very, very committed to outlining what it is that you expect so that you get the return that you're looking for, right? That's what's really most important. And like we said, track the results so that you can see what's working, see what's not working, and make the necessary adjustments so you get the most out of that training and the most out of the folks that are working with you, right? That's huge. And lastly, don't be shy about providing ongoing support or feedback. You are a new founder, you're starting a new business. And, one of the greatest things, if you ask anyone, what's the best thing about, this brand because it's smaller? Oh my God, I feel like the accessibility, and the team will say this too, the accessibility to the founder, the accessibility to the team is so much greater because, you have the time, you have the ability to be available to answer questions on behalf of your product, on behalf of the brand, et cetera. So don't underestimate the power of making yourself available and to provide feedback, to answer questions, etc., and also to celebrate the wins. Celebrate even the smallest of wins. You know, when you're starting out, you never, ever, no goal is too big. You know, you create small goals and small milestones so that you can get those wins, because that's really important, not just for you, but for everyone else. And people want to know when they're doing well. I think that's pretty safe to say about all of us, right? So really important to celebrate. Okay, let's move on, shall we? And tell me if I'm going too fast here or anyone has any questions, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about storytelling now. And, you know, storytelling is a really, really powerful tool when it's done correctly. It is something that can connect your customers on an emotional level and create a desire for a specific product. It truly is the secret weapon of every great brand. And as a brand creator, it's important to be able to articulate your personal experience and weave your journey into the story that you tell. And we touched on that a little bit earlier, the power of that. This will help your customers be able to relate to your brand and to see how your products are going to benefit them, right? It's usually like, gosh, you know, why did you create this product? I created this product because I couldn't find a lipstick that stayed on as long as I wanted it to, and everything was driving me crazy and nothing showed up in pictures. And I just started mixing my own, right? And like your story, like people are going to be like, oh my God, totally. I can relate to that. I get it. You know, so don't underestimate that as being a part of your overall story. Successful storytellers are able to make their customers feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. That is so true. So true. It's so aspirational, right? Like, oh my God, I want to be there. I want to look like that. I want to feel like that. I want my hair to look like that, right? That's a part of this story that we tell and the story behind our products. But first and foremost, you know, really understanding your audience and addressing their needs and catering your story to them is also going to be really important. But most importantly, be passionate, be authentic, and don't underestimate the power of that. So let's dive into storytelling a little bit here. So number one, and this is so true, like not just for storytelling, but talk about just overall success in a brand, is understanding your audience. Who is your customer? It is huge. It's the first step in successful storytelling. And, you know, you being able to really understand your customer and being laser focused on who they are, on what their aspirations are, what motivates them, that is huge. If you don't know who your customer is, if you've not clearly identified that person, and if you can't articulate that, and you don't have that laser focus, believe me when I tell you, it's going to be very, very obvious to consumers, right? You're going to look confused. You're going to look unfocused, uncentered. So having a very clear and laser focus on who your customer is and who you're going after is key for success at any level of creating brand. But really, you know, again, crafting a story that's going to resonate with a customer, and one that then they can relate to, and a story that puts them at the center of your brand is really the objective behind being a great storyteller. So one of the other ways that you do that is by creating very compelling narrative. Your narrative should be engaging. It should set the scene, and evoke emotion through a color palette or a color wave, or through visual stimulation, or through the music that you play. These are all ways that you can really kind of set the scene and, you know, aid to the narrative that you are creating and the story that you're weaving. It's really, really a fun way to dig in, as well as, you know, making sure that you help customers to realize what their goals are and that the products that you have will help to achieve their goals, if you will. And that sounds very silly, but it's very true, right? What is the objective here? But again, bringing them to a place of aspiration, and a place where they are the center of the story that you're telling is what you want to remember. Next, visuals, using strong visuals whenever possible. Visuals are a really powerful way to evoke emotion and to tell a story. And when used effectively, they can really bring your brand to life and they can make it more memorable for the consumer. I still, I can still remember all my favorite visuals from my Morphe days and my MAC days. And gosh, it reminds me of a time and a place. And I remember that lipstick that was in the collection. And that's great storytelling, right? Like that is like, I remember from all these years later, but that is a true storyteller. And that's a gift there. Next, and most important, be creative and be authentic. Don't be afraid to be creative. There really are no rules when it comes to storytelling. The most important thing to remember is to be creative and that authenticity sells. Okay. Today, people can spot a fake from a mile away. They can spot a bunch of baloney and they know the difference. And when something is scripted and when it's not. And, there's just so much information and examples out there. So, tell your story, but do it in an authentic way and be honest about your products and be honest about your brand. Be true to your core values and don't overpromise or over exaggerate. Now you can embellish and have a good time. Just don't make things up. Right? Don't ever do that to yourself because you will sacrifice the integrity of your brand and ultimately your products. But authenticity is critical. But don't be afraid to be creative and surprise them too. I think it's always fun when a brand is not always predictable. I think that's, you have your brand identity, but I think being a little bit unpredictable at times also creates a lot of beautiful attention around a brand.
Tressa, you touched on a lot of important things here. It seems like in order to effectively storytell, you need to balance a couple of different things, right? Whether it's under investor psychology, what their pain points are, what their experiences, understand how to tap into that, coupled with how to tell that story, right? To utilize language, visuals, narratives that draw and touch on those pain points, create that bridge. So for a lot of early brands, or even brands that are generating solid revenue, even venture-backed companies that are doing, $5 million a year, haven't totally ironed out some of these things. So I think one thing I'm interested to understand, when you say know how to target your audience, do you have any insight or thoughts on how to effectively do that? Would that be the lean startup customer discovery method where you just talk to customers day in and day out to get those pain points and go that route? Are there data sets that people could leverage? And the second question would be, how do you be authentic in an environment where you're trying to sell? I'd love your feedback on those two things.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I think that discovery for every new founder is really being close to the customer base. And I think that is how you learn as a founder. And that's how your product development evolves and you bring out new products, new colors by really, really listening. But I think that, having a clear understanding of out the gate, like this product is intended for, and it could be all rages, all ages, all sexes, or it could be, this product is catered for X, Y, and Z. So I think that your initial discovery is really just going to be talking to people, as many as you can in a retail environment, anywhere you can. Like, I always say, as a founder, you always carry your products with you because there is someone that you're going to end up talking to about your products and having an opportunity to put a little cream on someone's hand or, share a little sample with them, whatever that may be. Yes, there is plenty of ways that you can acquire more information these days through data sets, through market research, etc. But I don't really think that that's always necessary until you get a heck of a lot bigger. And I think that, those kinds of services can be more pricey. And I think that honestly, one of the things I've always said is that the answer is always in the field, meaning, as I was able to rise up in the ranks, working for Mac and these other companies, but the only time you really learn anything is not by sitting in an office behind a desk. It was getting out there and talking to customers and talking to staff members. And that's really how you unlock information, and that you understand tapping into the customers, and also who you're missing, because maybe you don't have the correct products for. So that will lead to further development in another area. So I think first and foremost, talk to the people. You asked me one other question, and it was about authenticity.
Yeah, how do you remain authentic in an environment where you need to generate revenue in order to keep the lights on? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, I think a lot of this, I think a lot of this authenticity comes through the way that you speak about your brand and your products, and the way that you educate staff members. I think that, again, when staff members feel as though they are invested in, when they are given the information and the tools, and the correct facts about a product, about a brand, I think that naturally leads to authenticity. You're not leaving these folks in a place where they're making things up, or that they're speaking in a manner that they're not educated on. And customers know when folks have the correct information and when they don't. So I think that education is one of the very first ways that you can be very authentic. And I think that, also, like we talked about, when you tell truths about your product, when you tell truths about your brand, when your passion comes out, those are the things that resonate with people. I think that, trying to make claims about products or a brand that you can't back, that's not being authentic, and people are going to see right through that, but I do think that authenticity starts with the way that you speak about your products and your brand straight up, and the way that you educate the folks that are advocating for you. Okay, cool.
Well said. Appreciate it.
All right, awesome. Okay, so let's move on. So I love this. This is a great quote, and it's so true. Brands are rising to the elevated expectations of shoppers by allowing them to move fluidly between their unique shopping behaviors. Being able to leverage a combination of e-commerce, retail, and digital platforms allows brands to get in front of customers with the products that they want and the experiences that they're demanding. Probably 15 years ago, I don't think any of us would have imagined that we would acquire, consume information, and purchase products the way that we do now. And, like we said earlier, people are smart. Customers are way more educated these days than they were even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There's just so much more information now, and so many more areas where they can acquire information on products, brands, people, etc., makeup lessons, etc. So we need to be nimble as founders and as brand developers. You need to be nimble. You need to be able to meet your customers where they are, but also provide them with options is really going to be really, really key. And you may find that, all your business right now is maybe most of it's coming from a digital platform, a social platform. Maybe, some of it's coming from your own personal websites, and maybe you've not yet tapped into a brick and mortar B2B situation. But the more availability and accessibility that you make for your products, the better off that you're going to be. And, oftentimes people ask, well, gosh, how do you get them from over here to over here? And, it's really not that difficult. I read an article recently in a retail publication that stated that, again, Gen Z are, and millennials are so much more likely to do their research, to really dig into what's happening out there, and to cross compare, cross shop, price point comparisons, etc. But they are 80% likely to make a purchase inside of a brick and mortar location. So, they will move around, they will go to different places, but providing them those opportunities is what's going to be really important. So how do you actually do that? How do you get them from point A to point B, right? So first and foremost is to create a call to action and a sense of urgency. Tell your customers what you want them to do, honestly. Whether it's buying a product, whether it's going to a specific location or signing up to receive exclusive information about products or exclusive events. But creating action is key. That's really, really important. And regardless of what the action is, creating a sense of urgency is also going to be important. And you can do this by offering a promotion in store or a promotion online or even a discount of sorts. But it will definitely encourage customers to act quickly and to take advantage of the offer before it expires. So here's another thing I want to just throw out there really quickly before we move on from this point is about discounting. I want to just put a note out there and take it for what it's worth, but be very, very careful with discounting your product. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you have created an expectation on your customer's part that they should expect a regular discount from you. Oh, I won't buy today because they always do a discount tomorrow kind of attitude. Be very, very careful about doing that. I saw discounting really, really being abused in the cannabis industry, and I'm not surprised by it, but what it did was it created this really poor expectation and behavior from customers where, they weren't loyal to one particular brand. They were loyal to a discount. And, what it tends to do is it cuts into your bottom line first and foremost, but it also cheapens the reputation of your brand. So use your discounts sparingly, use them with good reason. And make sure it's a smart move for your overall bottom line and for your business. Okay, let's move on from there. Another way to move customers is to offer an exclusive product or an in-store experience. And this can be anything from a limited time product, maybe a deluxe sample, a swag bag, a buy one, get one free, or access to an early event or access to a preview event. Boy, customers love to feel like they're special, and giving them early access in any situation usually pays off very, very well. But give your customer a reason to visit you in person and to experience your products and your brand in person. This is really, really important. All right, next, customer service. And this one should have actually, I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't change the slide. You probably are like, what is this woman talking about? I apologize. Customer service probably should have sat right at the top because it is of such paramount importance. And I think probably everyone as a consumer understands that first and foremost. And you know how you want to feel when you walk into a location or when you go to buy a product online. But it's very essential to any successful business, but especially to your brick and mortar model, right? Making sure that the people that are representing you and your brand are friendly, that they're well-trained, and they're able to serve your customers immediately is paramount. They should be able to answer questions, and they should be able to find the right products for the customers that are shopping in store with you. That's really, really important. They should be educating the customers on how to use the products and educating the customer on why this product is the best one for them. Something that I've always lived by is the 60-second greeting. And this is, basic retail 101, but it's so impactful. And if you do anything for 60 seconds in silence, it seems like an absolute eternity. And so creating an expectation that the staff members that are helping you sell inside of a store or, working with that retail partner, that you've got a 60-second greeting within 60 seconds and a smile. Don't underestimate the power of that. That is a really, really impressionable selling tactic and one that will work in your favor. I can promise you that. But finally, working with your retail partner, or whether you've got, you're selling your product somewhere yourself, making sure that you are well staffed to service the customers that are coming and inquiring about your products is also going to be key, because that is a really important element of service as well. Moving on to marketing campaigns. So this is something that could involve running online advertising for campaigns, in-store promos, personal appearances by maybe influencers, or even yourself as the founder of your brand and the creator of your brand. But the goal is to reach your target audience and get them into store, right? Additionally, enlisting the support of a retail partner, if that's an area that you're going to explore, that's going to be huge for you. You know, what you need to remember is that your success is their success. So they should have an active role in marketing your products, marketing any event that you are, or promotion that you've created on behalf of your brand is going to be really, really important. Also, in store, in brick and mortar, if you do, or wherever you are, make sure that you're well branded in terms of using the same branding elements as your online or your current launch videos, or the branding elements that you use in general for your brand. Make it easy for your customers to find you and recognize you, and make them confident that they're in the right place to buy products from you. This is all brand identity, and this is powerful. And last but not least, track your results. You know, it's really, really important, as we talked about earlier, to track your results and understand, you know, what's working and what's not, and help you make the necessary adjustments to ensure that you're getting the most out of your promotion and your investment. That's going to be huge. So all of these things are really things that can help to drive customers from D2C social platforms and brick and mortar, and ultimately create a successful omni-channel experience for your brand. So in summary, you know, shoppers today, they want to feel, they need to feel like they have a relationship with the brands that they're shopping for. And I think that we can all see that, you know, and that's really been the power of social media, helping to propel that very much. But, you know, they want relationships with the brands that they love and the brands that they prioritize, and giving your customers a curated blend of all of the benefits, whether that's education, whether that's storytelling, or whether that's a special offer, but offering them, you know, all of these perks and high value content is always a winning strategy. So thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate being able to be here today and talk to you guys. And I hope that you found some of these things helpful and an effective way to drive brand and retail success without a lot of overhead. So there you go. Thank you.
So we really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions before we go ahead and hop? Feel free to throw them in the chat, come off of mute. No worries. I actually have one.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these brands, I'm very transparent with everyone here in the studio. So a lot of the brands here have a lot more experience as relates to retail. So I'm still catching up a bit. But a lot of these strategies were centered around in-store, you know, an in-store environment. And we have a lot of brands that are inside of boutiques or somewhat
Yeah.
niched you
Yeah.
know, stores. And I was wondering, do some of the smaller stores have actual sales reps? And if not, do you have any tips for how to drive sales for a boutique that may be
Yeah.
not quite as resourced as a larger retailer?
Yeah. I mean, I think that all of these things, you know, in my mind, these are all locations, whether it's a boutique or, you know, a larger retail establishment. These are all things that can be done in store. And, you know, whether you are training the boutique owner, whether you're training, you know, the part-time staff members that the boutique owner has, like these are all effective ways of driving success within your brand, and not having to have your own brick and mortar, or having to be in a Macy's or Sephora per se, right? Another thing that is really, really key for smaller brands is you can hire someone to work for you on a freelance basis who will go in and they will represent your brand in a retail establishment, inside that boutique, or at a farmer's market, or at a you know, a Macy's or Nordstrom, wherever it is that you where you have your brand. And there's a company that I like to use called Headcount with a K. They're based out of Northern California. And the woman who started this company, she has a long line in beauty history herself, and a lot of tenure within the industry. And she created this because of that exact reason. She said, I saw so many small brands coming up that just didn't have the bandwidth to represent themselves in store. And once they got the product in a store, they didn't have the bandwidth to be in, each location, or, selling for 8 hours a day on behalf of their own personal brand. So she's a staffing company that supplies you with your own dedicated, like, freelance on-call people to go in and sell your brand for you. So you would educate then these folks in turn.
Really appreciate that. I threw the link in there for everyone who wants to check out Headcount. It seems like a very
Yeah.
valuable resource. And one thing that's become so apparent through your presentation, it always usually comes back to this when, we have these discussions when I'm doing research or talking to founders, but either you have a lot of resources and you can allocate money towards,
Yeah.
ads to drive traffic and sales, or if you don't have it, you got to get your hands around it, whether it is your customer research, whether it's your sales. When you're lacking a lot of that funding, you just have to jump in, get truly entrepreneurial, and just go to the retailer and start
Really.
doing it.
Yeah.
Understand the story, really push that story, and just come hat in hand and start really driving the narrative and driving the traffic.
Yeah.
It seems to be from what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think probably everyone has a story that they can recall about a product or a brand that they love and have used forever. And part of that was kind of the story about how the brand came to be, and I don't think that anyone should ever underestimate the power of that, the power of your personal story and your personal conviction surrounding your brand and products is huge. And that's what people cling on to. That's what they remember. And kind of, the free gift in all of it is the product that they get to take home with them. That's
Right.
one way of looking at it, is like, your story is kind of really the gift. And, what kind of the hook, line, and sinker, and what gets them in. But the product is the benefit of, having a relationship with you, right? So your story is huge in all of this success.
Very, very well said. We have two other questions
Yeah.
that we're listed in chat. One question: are sales reps absolutely necessary, or are there ways to still have success in retail without using sales reps?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, not, it's very rare these days that people have dedicated sales reps to one particular brand, right? So I think that, when you're talking about in store and having your product somewhere, if that's what you're referring to, it's not necessary that you own those people. Someone works in that store and you're going to share your story with them and products, and you're going to educate them. But again, you being able to evoke that passion in them is really going to be the secret sauce to all of this. And then I think, like we talked about from a digital standpoint, we all know influencers and the power of TikTok, like that is huge for a brand as well. But I do think that there is such value still in being able to find a way digitally and on your website to really articulate the story of your brand and the feeling of your brand through imagery, through the words that you use to tell your story. That's all huge. And like we talked about earlier, you can provide succinct information to educate customers on products that can live online for you. That will articulate, everything that you would want to articulate in a training. And maybe there's a way for you to incorporate, personal testimonials or videos of people. People love that, like people buy products based on reviews, right? So perhaps there's a way also that you can get brand advocates to advocate your products through reviews of products.
Really appreciate that. Do you have any examples of production education kits that we can use for inspiration? What would a good kit look like that you were going to give to someone in retail to train them up?
It would definitely have the products from whatever launch or, the product lineup. If you're educating on your whole brand, it would have, inspirational imagery that evokes the motion of your brand or your launch. It would include, facts about the products, key ingredients, what are like products that this product can be linked to. So product linking and selling suggestions. It would include key ingredients, visuals, maybe also something fun as a source of inspiration, like, whether it's, I don't know, if you're talking about a new launch, maybe it's a piece of candy or a beautiful cookie that, could also relay the story, or a fun little toy that relays the story or evokes the feeling of the brand, or excuse me, the product launch that you're discussing. So I definitely think that there are fun ways that you can get people excited about receiving all of that information.
Do you have any thoughts on lookbooks? It sounds like a lookbook from what you're describing.
It can be a brand lookbook for sure. It doesn't have to be just that. I think it might, there's more technicality than a lookbook that would live in a public, customer facing way. But you could definitely use aspects of a lookbook as well.
Got it. I really appreciate that. And by no means am I an expert like you are, Tressa, but I'm attaching this lookbook template I found just Googling. Feel free to check it out. And I'm glad to talk about that. Two more questions. You're popular, Tressa. We just got a couple more. From Orion. So she says it's a bit easier, at least more straightforward, to apply these elements in store. Yeah. So any suggestions for driving conversions with retailers that want you on their .com marketplaces before they bring you in store without spending 5 or 6 figures to drive to their site?
So how to drive sales through a retailer before
.com retailer specifically. Right. So like maybe take some of the traction that you've gotten from your D2C or your Shopify and then taking that to Macy's.com, for example, or Amazon.com, for example, before they bring you into their physical retailers.
Yeah, I think that, I think that you could use elements of what we talked about by creating, certainly providing the story of your brand is huge. Providing key imagery is going to be huge, but maybe there is a promo for an exclusive, or for, a preview, or I think that's a bit trickier. I would want to think about that a little bit more, but I think that there's got to be a way to, because I want to be mindful about not spending a bunch of your money, right, before through the retailpartners.com. But perhaps it's some kind of an exclusive product. I think that might be the most interesting way, is providing an opportunity for an exclusive product for that particular retailer, and one that they can't get anywhere else. I think that would be probably meaningful for a specific customer like that, or creating, a little deluxe intro set of products just for, exclusively to that retailer. That might be also a good way as an intro, your 3 main products, whatever those are, and maybe it's deluxe sample sizing.
That's interesting, especially as we approach the Q4 and the holiday season.
Yeah.
It seems like the thread line is creating a unique reason for them to not only go to your site, but to go to a Nordstrom's.com.
Right.
So a new product would be interesting, or potential offer directly housed.
Yeah. And I think, and making them unique to each site is going to be huge, right? Because you want to encourage them to, like, say, for example, shop at Macy's, but, you know, is there a way to entice them and get them interested in your product with this product exclusive that will ultimately take them to your website, or ultimately take them to the boutique where they can experience more of your products in store, or, you know, in life, or excuse me, in person, and touch and feel them. But yeah, I think an exclusive product would be a fun way to address that need.
Really appreciate that. We've got two more, and I promise we're going to let you
Yeah, no worries. No, thank you guys.
get to the questions. They just always roll in at the very
Mhm.
end, which is I'm gonna get to your question in a minute, but I'm just gonna move on to Natasha's in case she has to go. What's your take on programs like ECRM? Do you think it's worth it to meet with buyers, or have you seen better results reaching out via LinkedIn or email? Are you familiar with ECRM?
Tell me about ECRM. No, I actually don't.
So ECR, well, first of all, hi.
Hi.
ECRM is a program basically meet with buyers from different retailers like Sephora, Ulta, and all that good stuff.
Yes, yes,
I've heard of
yes.
it. I've
Yeah.
never participated in it. Yeah. But I'm not too sure if it's better. I like to stalk buyers on LinkedIn and reach out, and I've seen good results there, but I'm not too sure if ECRM is kind of worth the money, because it is a pretty penny. So I just
Yeah.
wanted your take on that.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to a gal last week who just acquired a skincare brand, and she was talking about using them. I didn't realize they were called ECRM, so thank you for that information. You know, I think it kind of just depends on where you are. I think that if you're getting success on LinkedIn, then I think you should continue to, you know, knock on that door. I don't know how successful that is for everyone. I mean, I feel like I personally get hit up left, right, and center on LinkedIn, and sometimes it just becomes repetitive blindness for me. So if there is a way that you are contacting these folks on LinkedIn and you're getting a response, I think that it would be worth sharing with folks, because if you're able to get through, that's huge. Like, mad kudos to you. I think that that's a huge accomplishment. I do think that there's value in programs like ECRM, because it's just going to give you the ability to get exposure in front of a bigger group of people. But, you know, maybe that's just not where your brand is at the moment, you know, and I think that, you know, old school reaching out directly to folks at, you know, wherever the, you know, locations are that you want to be, that shouldn't be underestimated as well either, you know? So I think you just have to try and experiment for your brand, but I don't think that there's harm in either one. You know, you have to find what's going to work best for you.
We really appreciate the time, Tressa. To wrap up,
Yeah.
for folks that want to you know, connect with you or get more of your insights on things, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you offering you know, any time to meet with founders down the line, or would you?
Yeah, I would love to meet with anyone who has interest in talking to me. It would be a pleasure. Like I said, I am so passionate about retail, and I love, love, love being able to share my experience and my stories. And if anyone finds that of benefit, I'm certainly happy to spend the time. So I would welcome anyone reaching out to me.
Well, thank you again so much for your time, Tressa. If you all are interested in connecting more with her and leveraging her great insights, feel free to reach out to founders at thebraintrust.com. For those of you who have met with me, you know how things can get. So reach me via email directly at ryan@thebraintrust.com. I'm going to link both. And when in doubt, text or call me. You'll always get a response. That reminds me, Natasha, I'm going to call you back later this afternoon. I owe you a discussion. But thank you, everyone, so much
Thank
for
you,
your time.
guys. So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing the rest of you all tomorrow at our TikTok discussion with them. So load up on your questions. I'm going to link my email and the founders that email and keep this open for another minute or two. Tressa, have a good one, and you all have a good afternoon. Take
Bye,
care.
guys. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Founders at braintrust.com. Right. right, and then RYAN at thebraintrust.com. And my cell, for anyone who's still here, we have 619-471-4309. Feel free to reach out to me morning, noon, or night. It's the quickest and easiest way to get a super immediate response from me. So don't be a stranger. Okay. Well, all right, everyone, take care and have a great day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow and at the next time. Appreciate it. Bye.